Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Remember to take your time and to relax. Don't treat this as though it's a serious task that you must accomplish and check it off on your box and you're trying to change yourself and become something different. If you approach your practice that way, it becomes an act of stress and control. And what we are practicing is letting go, being peaceful, taking your time, enjoying yourself. Enjoy yourself, very important. So let's practice a bit of standing together. And I would like to remind everybody that settling into the posture is not holding yourself still. It's not pushing yourself into some position. Instead, you're moving to a comfortably neutral spot and then letting go. Falling through. Take your time. Noticing the state and the quality of your body and mind at this moment. By this point, you've gotten much better at this capacity to return and to take note of how you're feeling. Is your system agitated or is it suppressed, energized or fatigued? What is your emotional state like? What is the quality of your mind? How is your left shoulder? Tuning in, paying attention. And what I'd like to draw your awareness to today and to practice better habits with is paying attention to what's happening now. Too often, if I notice my left shoulder, the habit might be, oh, it's better than it was yesterday, or it's worse than it was yesterday. Or after yesterday's practice, it felt so good, but now, I don't know. And we're constantly comparing our current state of being, our current experience, with something that happened before, or something that we imagine should be happening. But very often it's compared to an experience that we had before. Tuning in and settling. If your mind wanders away, come back to being aware of your system, just like we've been practicing. And remember, if this is your first time with us, please check down below for links to take you back to the first and introductory videos for this series that will help you with your practice. Noticing how you are, just observing. See if you can do it without judging, without trying to change anything. Rather, just noticing, simply paying attention. And the skill I want you to develop today is as you come back, once again, taking note of how you're doing, being present, simply observing the present moment. Each time that you come back is each time. It's not the next time, it's not compared to some other time. It's simply where you're at. It's as though you've never stood before. There's nothing to compare it to because you're simply where you are. It's as though each time you breathe, each breath is a new experience. Your mind is fresh with every breath. It's a brand new experience to stand and soften your shoulders and to release your hips. No preconceptions, no prejudgment, simply presence. just about 10 more minutes of standing. Remember that you don't want to stand for a certain amount of time. The clock is not the arbiter of how long you should be standing. It's how you are feeling. If you begin standing open, your body feels light and buoyant, and you slowly relax and become more light and buoyant and full and easy in your body, loose and soft. You would continue standing as long as you keep getting softer, more light, freer in your body. What you may notice, if you're paying attention, and I'm hoping that you are, is that often there comes a point when that switches and it changes over and you start compacting down into yourself. You start holding yourself up, trying to withstand the posture for the rest of some time period. If you reach that point, ideally you stop just before that. If you start to listen to yourself, you notice that starting to turn over from yang to yin, this switch to resisting and holding the posture rather than floating and being light in the posture. That's when you should sit down or go for a walk. Give yourself a break to recover. And if you'd like, of course, you can return to standing right after that. Again, in this light and free space, buoyant and full. Because, as a reminder, what we want to practice is that lightness, is that freedom in our body, that spaciousness, until we're actually able to stand and be resting upon and through that open space. Those open spaces begin to fill, and that's actually enough to hold us up. And so we stop using our structure and our tension to hold us, and rather we're using the softness itself, which changes and becomes another kind of support system. And we've talked about that earlier, but I want to remind you, don't push into it. Don't let your ego take over and you start saying, oh, only 2 more minutes. It's better just to sit down. It's better for your practice in the long run. It's better for all of us. So pay attention to how you're feeling, not the clock. If you can stand easily for the full 30 minutes, that's wonderful. It's a really good practice session, and you'll continue to improve. There are masters, of course, that can stand all day. And there are people that should only stand for a few minutes at a time. And that's all appropriate. Every day is different. Each time is different. And each time you return to the present with your awareness is unique. You have to pay attention and judge based on what's happening now, not based on what you thought before we started or what you think you should do. Each time, each moment is a unique experience. The full present moment, fresh and new. Just be here. It's not complicated. Don't add complications by trying to control your experience. Let go. Sometimes that means sitting down. Just a few more comfortable breaths, letting go of your whole body. If your mind is wandering around, remember to gently release the agitation, allowing your awareness to come back into the present moment. Feeling what's actually happening. Notice the colors and the sensations. You can even be aware of the thoughts, but be aware of them from inside, from the present moment, from the clear awareness that is your nature. Always fresh, always new. What is it like to be you right now, for the first time? Closing when you're ready. Stay comfortable and easy. Relaxed. Taking the time to soften any of those spots in your body that might need extra attention. Every body is going to be different. Remember, as you release down the outside and back of the legs, it's okay to only go maybe to the knees if that's where your back releases to. If you start finding yourself hunching over and clenching, then you've gone too far. You could send your awareness down to your feet, even if your hands only go to your thighs, for instance. And if you're more comfortable and flexible, letting your hips go back, softening through and down, so you can go all the way around your feet. Either is okay, but it's dependent upon you. And every day will be different. You have to be willing to be new every time. Each repetition is new. That way you can feel what's going on now rather than what you imagine you should be feeling. Softening your lower back and your hips. Grabbing yourself a chair, if you have one. So a special message to some of the people out there who are already athletes, and you know who you are. One of the great difficulties with learning these practices, if you've been involved in athletics for a long time, typical, maybe we'll call them calisthenic style athletics, because Tai Chi is also a kind of athletics, but the paradigm is very different. And one of the difficulties that you might find is that if you've spent your lifetime training yourself to ignore your physical signals, that's the mind over matter concept, which is everywhere in most athletics these days. So that, for instance, you're training yourself, maybe you're moving a very heavy weight, you're pushing and pulling on weights, and as you move that weight around, your body starts to scream at you. You know this feeling? Maybe you're running a long distance and your entire nervous system is telling you something. Your endocrine system is flooding you with messages of stress and danger, danger. Red lights are going off. And part of the skill of the athletics, in that case, is learning to ignore those signals. So what happens if you ignore those signals from your body for a very long time? And you're doing this over years. And every long-term athlete understands this. The signal gets its volume turned way down. We start learning how to ignore those signals. Or we change what they mean. They become signals that give us a sense of pleasure, or they actually encourage us to push harder instead of to slow down. We stop interpreting the signal's meaning to be what it's supposed to communicate. And that becomes very dangerous for a lot of different reasons. And for our purposes here, studying meditation methods and release methods, when we stop listening to our body, when that quality of our awareness stops paying attention to the signals our bodies are giving us, our bodies stop signaling us, and we stop being able to listen. That quality of communication is broken down and weakened, in the very least, or negated entirely. And so when these athletes start doing these practices that require very subtle capacities to listen and to understand, and to have a body, in a sense, that feels safe enough to give you those signals because it knows it won't be ignored, that becomes very difficult because you've made it so that only a sledgehammer can get your attention. A super bright flashing light is often not enough. It needs something much more profound to get your attention. And so now it's only when really big changes happen that you can make adjustments. Those of us that didn't go through that process and are always a little bit aware of what our body and our mind is telling us can make subtle adjustments as we go. But those people that always turned that down, locked it away in a separate room perhaps, in order to be able to train very high with athletics, because you want to be able to push your body so hard and ignore the warning signs. There's a reason for that, for certain athletics and sports and endeavors. It's fine. It doesn't pair well with what we're trying to accomplish here. So you might have to repair that communication system. You might have to teach your system that it's okay to communicate with you. It's okay to reach out and say, hey, stop, and you'll actually listen. And to start to harmonize again the mind, the intent, the body, and its signals. Right now, the more we ignore them, the further they become separated. And what we want to do is to at least draw them closer together and then eventually to join them. So the body and the mind is all one expression. This, of course, is our goal. But the more we try to separate them out, the more difficult it becomes in the future. So again, this is a message specifically for my athlete friends. You know who you are. Please begin to repair that signaling process. Please start to listen a little more closely when your body is telling you to stop. And I understand if your chosen sport or pastime requires you to ignore that signal, but maybe you can start to pay attention to it more. Maybe you can listen to it a little bit more closely in the rest of your daily life in order to start to restore those communication lines. Because otherwise, these methods become more and more difficult over time as you damage that system further and further. Because the ability to listen, the ability to be still, and to hear deeply is at the core of our practice. So fair warning. Let's get nice and comfortable. You can begin with that easy Song Jing breath. Noticing that each time you return, the present moment is fresh and clear and available. The mind may wander. When it does, it tends to wander toward the future or the past. We've covered a lot of these possibilities, styles of imagination. And then you gently release those agitations. And as you return, notice the quality of fresh clarity. It's as though it's perfectly clean. The present moment is clean of anything from the past or the future that might want to try to mess it up. It's just here, vibrant. It's a kind of purity to the present moment that you can sense. Settling into clear, comfortable meditation. Whenever you are done with the softening practice, remember to do the Songjing method for as long as you need. By now you have a sense of when you've come to that point where it's time for you to simply rest in the present moment. Some days you might need more of that softening and settling into the stillness practice. And other days you're ready to simply be here, quiet and awake, enjoying the present moment. Just another 10 minutes of sitting. Continuing to return by letting go, not by forcing your awareness. Settling, feeling easy, relaxed. This is your free time. This is the most comfortable and casual moment of your whole life. And notice that every time your awareness comes back, it's a perfectly new moment, a perfectly new you, every moment, returning and returning. when you're ready. Again, by now you've already learned a lot of these movements. You have a sense of what you need, so I want you to adjust the self-massage depending on how your body needs to be warmed up or loosened or prepared for the rest of the day. You do want to give your whole body attention. Try not to hit my microphone here. Again, don't make this into a chore. Notice how nice it feels to do some self-massage, to relieve a little tension, to let your worries be set aside for the day. You're doing this for you because you enjoy it, because it makes you feel better, because it makes your whole world better, because you deserve a little bit of quiet time in your day to set everything down and to just be here at the present moment, to make that the new way that you live. I used to live in a national park in the valley of Yosemite National Forest. And I was working there doing acupuncture, teaching Qigong and Tai Chi, and working with the locals, not the tourists, but the people who lived and worked there. Wonderful place to live and wonderful people. And I remember that at one point I actually had to tell one of the women who was taking my classes that she probably shouldn't be doing Tai Chi, which she was kind of shocked by. But over the course of a year or two, every time she would practice Tai Chi, she would become more tense because she took it so seriously. She had to get every movement correctly, and she was never able to soften. Tai Chi became a source of stress and anguish for her, and she was never quite able to put that aside, and I never understood why. But I said to her that she should probably not practice it because her Taiji was making her worse at the cultivation and to do something else that she took less seriously. And I think I could have said it better. I was still pretty young at the time, but I stand by that as an idea that these practices should not make you more tense and uptight as a person. We're doing that to loosen these qualities of our nature. And so I cannot tell you how many Zen monks and professional meditators, full-time practitioners that I've met who've become more uptight over the years because they're approaching their practice wrong, in my opinion. So what we want to do is let all of that go. Those are just concepts that are restraining your ability to improve in the first place and adding misery to your life. Come to your practice in a light-hearted way. Enjoy yourself. Soften up. Use good principles, but not because you have to use good principles. I must do them right. But because those are the best way for you to let go of all of the things that are binding you up. And so don't add ideas in that add to that binding. Approach every practice in a fresh and lighthearted way as though there's something new to discover. You're here to take the time to relax and enjoy yourself, to feel better at the end rather than worse. So this is my homework to you. Relax. Not just professionally relax. Don't just sit here and, I'm now becoming softer because I'm becoming better. Relax that too. Let it all go. Be here. Every time you practice is a new practice time. It's as though you're fresh, a newborn child. Here's to being reborn. Good tea. Enjoy your practice.